All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Now Testify FSD Beta 11.4.4. I've had 4.4 now for a little over a week, and even had a chance to take it to the Seattle Tacoma area this last weekend and try it out. We're seeing right now some of the strangeness I see around town. It's been pretty consistent with just weird stopping like that. So it seems to do that particular stop quite a bit. However, the highway has been really good for me. I had almost a hands-free experience both to and from the Seattle area, which is about 160 miles each way, through busy interstates and lots of lane changes, 70 miles an hour. So to some more narrow, single lane each direction mountain passes, and it did very well, better than it has ever done before. One of the things I saw most improved was the speed around some of those corners along some of the smaller paths that I go through. You know, the speed limit is 60, and previously it would slow down much too far for a highway on those curves, and it did much better on v11.4.4. Didn't get a chance to try it on 4.3, but that was very good. But driving around town has been very hit and miss for me. Unfortunately, again, 11.4.3 was the best version in town for me that I have had. It did really well for everything, with the exception of four-way stops, which is still an issue for 4.4 as well. Here's an issue that has been an up and down. I've seen it here and there. We'll see. It thinks that this is an intersection. Yep, stopping for stop sign. There is no stop sign here, and I'm gonna let it. Yep, it came to like a complete stop. Just ridiculous. So I don't know if that's map data, but hey, Dan O'Dowd, check it out. There isn't a stop sign and it's stopping. So I don't know. So it says we're stopping for a stop sign again, but we now actually have a traffic control light here. So if you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll know that that was a four-way stop previously. And I actually had to give it the accelerator there because it stopped after the intersection. So just 11.4.4, I don't know what has changed exactly, but it is just not as a smooth operator as 4.3 was. So maybe they were dialing some of the settings back for some reason. I'm not entirely sure what might cause that, but I have not seen very many benefits either. 4.3 is doing roundabouts pretty good for me. I've had very few issues with them at all, and I have not really found anything else around my town that has been an issue besides four-way stops. So whatever they've introduced in 4.4 has actually made beta worse for me in town. So maybe it was like a give and take thing where perhaps it was they were improving the highway, because I know there were some folks that were having a lot of troubles with highway driving. So far on this drive, I've just had the one accelerator press after the traffic intersection. Now, actually, we'll take that back, right? Because we had the accelerator press for the non-existent stop sign before that intersection. So just quite unfortunate, really. So now we're wanted to do some lane change shenanigans there, but it looks like it is going to go ahead and stay in this outer turn lane. I'll also be posting my short drive that I did record in Tacoma to the Point Defiance Zoo actually, the drive itself was pretty uneventful and didn't really have many challenges, but there was still some decent interaction there. So I will post that as well, and if I get that out before this video, that will be up here. Otherwise, I'll post it after this video. Or maybe not at all. Once I review the footage again, it might not be as interesting to post. Although they did have some highway, it was like a good kind of city to highway back to the city again. Changing lanes away from merge. That's the first time I've seen that, and especially on this road, so that's very strange. Usually Beta wants to just get in the middle lane and travel the whole way there, which is appropriate. So I've never seen it shift over for moving away from merge lane. And I didn't actually see that on my highway interstate driving, so I guess it's nice to see that that is a feature that is at least built into a degree, because that can be a challenge if Beta is going the same speed as merging traffic onto a highway. Definitely want to get over into another lane to give that lane room to merge in. Okay, so changing lanes back to the middle again. So now we're seeing a lot of indecision again, and I just don't feel like I saw that same level of indecision on 4.3. This is the other thing. It seems to want to get into this right-hand lane, but our destination is actually on the left up here. And it doesn't end up actually changing lanes. And again, that was not something that it did ever in any previous drive or any previous version. So slowing there for a pedestrian, then simply looking at a sign for a bus, slowing here for this car that's possibly going to merge. So it's just so timid. I miss the confidence of 4.3. So I'm already ready for the next version. I'm pretty much over 11.4.4. Even if it's worse, let's see if it actually goes around this bus. Is it gonna? No, so we're stopping for the bus, and yeah, it's gonna go. Oh, that's really close. I probably had enough clearance, to be honest, but that was too close for my comfort. So that will be the first part of our loop. We'll catch you on the way back. All right, we're back for the second half of the loop, and it looks like Beta is going to go through this yellow. That's fine. That was like right on the border. I probably would have still gone as well. So and if you see my other loop 2, so this is my loop 2, this is we usually turn here on 7th, but last couple of times that I haven't filmed, it's actually gone even further down. So I'd really like to know a little bit more information about how Beta decides on its routes. I mean, I don't have enough, we're not busy enough here in my town for traffic to cause a different reroute. But and the other times it's actually taken the road before with the lights. So, but this is actually the typical route, which is good for comparison's sake, right? Okay, so we got our left turn here onto a one-way. The issues that I've had before is the lane positioning here at the stop sign. So it likes to kind of creep way far to the left. It's still kind of doing that, and then boy, look at that line in indecision. So we'll see if Truck's gonna let us in here. Is Beta gonna make its move? Nope. It's gotta do it. Okay, so certainly no help from our friends, or lack of friends, I should say. Trucks don't really like Teslas too much. Truck drivers. They'll be even more irritated when I'm rolling around in the Cybertruck. That's why we all want one, right? Let me know down in the comments whether you have a Cybertruck reservation, what your configuration is, and the number one reason why you want a Cybertruck. All right, so we're coming up to lane change Shenanigans Alley. This is the correct lane we should be in. I'll bump up the speed just a little bit. I feel like we're going a little slow. So Beta, see, look, we're almost right in the middle of this white lane. So there you go. So there's lane change Shenanigans Alley being the same thing. I'm not sure why it has such a hard time with that section. And again, it's only fairly recently. I think it still had troubles on 11.4.3. So that was kind of still a thing. But previous versions, I think 11.3.6, I think it was actually okay. Less indecision there. But have a look at any of my other Loop 2 videos, and I'm almost positive everyone has issues with that section. So that's like the number one reason I do these videos, is for this lane change Shenanigans Alley. I usually don't come this way for Loop 1. Here we get really wide turns. So see how wide it took this turn, and then it's got to cut back in. That's also new behavior on 11.4.4. Here's my bridge exit coming up here. This is one I've kind of given up on the Tesla doing or choosing the right lane, or the lane, my lane preference, to avoid having to change lanes on this curve. So it makes the exit just fine, but if it was in this middle lane when it made the exit, it wouldn't have to make this lane shift, especially top a curve right here where there's usually somebody behind us. So that's one of those things where, again, it's not technically incorrect, it's just awkward, and it should have just been in the correct lane to begin with. And if we had just stayed in that lane from when we turned onto the bridge, it would have been perfect. Less lane changes, I think, is like the optimal planning, right? So even if it's slightly slower, if you will, and that minimal lane change toggle, so if you didn't know, you can press the scroll wheel left or right, the right side scroll wheel left or right, to change your FSD profile settings. I roll on assertive, especially on this version where I think it's way too timid. But if you use the scroll wheel, you can see the settings. But this minimal lane changes only is in effect for the highway, from my understanding. Let me know down in the comments if that's not the case. But I have turned it on for that section a few times, and I have not seen any difference. The one thing I will say now is, so now that that light is a four-way, or a traffic control section instead of being a four-way stop, the good thing is, well, being in the right-hand lane, as you saw, we had to merge to the traffic on our left past the intersection. And whether it's right or wrong, Beta does do a good job off the line, if you will, to speed ahead of the cars on the left in order to make that merge without issue. I only had one time where it did not take off with decent gusto, if you will, and had to make a merge with traffic in that left lane. Okay, so that pretty much does it for the end of loop 2. My typical end to this loop is actually under construction, but it's just another right, so it's really not that, and a left, so it's really not even that much of a challenge. But yeah, I've given a lot of my thoughts on 4.4. Like I said, I am ready for 4.5. I'm good with this with 4.4. I was actually, again, like I said, very happy with 4.3, and when I didn't get 4.4 straight away, you know, I was like, well, you know, not that big of a deal. I mean, I posted on Twitter several times. I was disappointed I hadn't got 4.4, but you know, it's always here mixed things. So on the whole, this drive back, I'm gonna drive back with the lane change shenanigans and all that stuff. It was actually intervention free. So while it was awkward and just kind of behaving erratically, it was, in those situations, it wasn't dangerous, so I didn't disengage, and at no point did I also have to intervene with the accelerator. So the return trip was disengagement free, and the trip forward was just 2 interventions. So, well, and I did have that disengagement there next to the bus. So, you know, that was also kind of awkward, and yeah, it may have cleared that. You know, I'm usually pretty trusting, actually, of Beta's perception of vehicles. Like, I have not been concerned that it's going to hit something, but in that particular instance was, for me, just a little too close to comfort, and I didn't even want to risk it. So one intervention, or excuse me, 1 disengagement, and I believe just those 2 interventions. So, you know, on the whole, not bad. It's just awkward, right? So that would be my biggest complaint here about 4.4, is that it's just a bit awkward, and hopefully those things are ironed out. And look how slow that took. Oh my goodness, that was so painful. It should have taken that right without any trouble at all. But with that, we will call it. All right, and there was a dog, was fine, and wanted me to take over or something, but I didn't feel like I needed to. But hey, there's an interaction with a dog. At any rate, thank you all for watching, and we will catch you next time. Now, Tesla 5.